Thank you everyone for joining our very first, and I'm going to emphasize first, and pilot Global Challenge Summit. Thank you for bearing with us because we've obviously never done a webinar before. So thank you for just bear with us because we may experience some technical difficulties. But we're super, super excited to kick this off. Yeah. And just for some housekeeping, this is recorded. So in case you have to drop off or you want to, just remember what's going on with the session, we'll send it over after. We'll send over the deck, and then we'll wrap it up with a Q&A. Cool?
Sounds good.
All right. So my name is Megan. I'm the co-founder of Fixamass. I previously worked at Apple in marketing. I think a little fun fact, or I wouldn't say this is a fun fact, but it is very near and dear to my heart. My parents are Vietnamese refugees. When we first started, we always thought that this is beyond just a US issue. And so I'm so, so happy that we have so many people from all parts of the world come together today.
Mm-hmm. My name is Sabrina, and my background is in mechanical engineering, and I also worked at Apple, and I totally reiterate, we recognize that the situation that's happening around the world right now is not just an America or like single country issue. This is a global issue, and therefore we all need to band together and figure out how to solve this together. And so really excited to have everyone here today.
Really, really excited. And so with that said, I think this leads really, really well into the next slide. And we really want to take the time to really thank everybody who have come here today, because it's really, really an honor. The people who are here today have actively raised their hand and said, I want to lead this initiative in your country. And we're just so honored because we know that this solution is great, but we can't do this alone. I think the challenges are endless. And so we appreciate everybody coming together to really figure out how we can get this solution in the hands of people that need the most. And so I just want to take the time to really honor the countries that are represented today. So we have people here from Nigeria, Haiti, Senegal, Colombia, Kenya, Uganda, India, Peru, Guatemala, Gambia, Malawi, Mexico, Burundi, South Africa, Rwanda, Malaysia, United States, and United Kingdom. So thank you so much for coming together today.
Yeah, an incredible community here.
Cool. So how did this all begin? So at least here in San Francisco, we've been in shelter in place for about 6 weeks now. This is a really close personal story. Sabrina happens to be my sister-in-law, but my brother-in-law is an ER doctor here at Kaiser Permanente in the Bay Area, and his hospital 6 weeks ago was one of the hospital that was really, really dangerously close out of N95 masks. And I remember we tried to originally source N95 masks throughout the area, and we ended up hitting a roadblock because we did like a 3-day effort. I think we gathered around 7,000 masks. It only helped 2 hospitals for 1 day. So we knew scalability was a really, really big issue. And so Sabrina is an engineer, and me and my sister are like, what can you do to like, you're an engineer, like what can we do? And so you'll see at the bottom we said, so we had to fix the mask. And this is really how it all came about, is that we knew there was a scalability issue, but everybody deserves safe protection. So how can we move forward to supply safe equipment? So just to kind of level set what the mission of Fixamass is, again, we recognize that this is beyond our country issue. And so we want to supply safe masks to everyone quickly. And I want to emphasize that the word everyone and quickly is really a key driver to all of this.
And to reiterate, we firmly believe that everyone deserves high quality protective gear. This virus does not discriminate between income levels, between where you're located, any of that. We need to have everyone protected equally and to the highest degree possible.
Yeah. And again, we've been in shelter in place for 6 weeks now, but there's a point where this is going to be done, right? We're going to be out of shelter in place. And so we need to make sure that everyone has safe protection. We shouldn't, this is a really, really deadly virus. And so we want to make sure that everyone is safely protected.
And that said, there are many countries that don't even have the luxury of sheltering in place, right? They don't have the ability to stay 6 feet apart at all times. And we also need to help everyone as much as we can as soon as possible.
It's aggressive. It's an aggressive goal, but I'm sure as we come together, you guys are leading the initiative that this will happen.
Yeah.
We just know that we need your help to get there. So what are the problems?
So why is there a shortage of N95 masks to begin with? It comes down to supply and demand. As you can recognize, there's a really high demand for these masks, really low supply. So just to get an idea of how severe an issue this is the predicted amount of N95 masks that we currently have in supply for 2020. It's estimated to be around 0.42 billion. What we need on a global scale is actually 4.3 billion masks. And there's a huge discrepancy here. And so when we were coming about a solution for this, we had to figure out, what is currently available that we can actually use to move forward. One thing that's really interesting is that in China per day, there are 0.6 million N95s made, but there are 200 million surgical masks made per day. So we were thinking, if there's a way for us to utilize surgical masks more effectively, that could actually be a real solution to helping us bridge this shortage.
Can I actually just pause and just show the difference in terms of, we're in a new world of masks, so I don't know, at least when I started, all the different types of shape, but you'll see that N95 mask, let me see if you guys can see, it's a really unique shape. It's molded in a very unique, customized way. And here is just a straight rectangle flat sheet. So obviously this is much more complicated to create, and this one is literally just a sheet.
And what's interesting is that these guys start out looking like this, right? And so then there's a lot of post-processing to make it look like this. But this material is extremely similar. We'll get into that a little bit later. So, all right, why aren't we just using surgical masks? Why can't we just, if these are so much more readily available, why aren't these just the recommended gold standard? And the reason is because of leakage. So as you put this on your face, you'll notice that there are definitely gaps around the sides of the face that mean that COVID-19 sized particles can come in through the sides and enter your nasal and mouth passageways. N95s get around this by totally sealing and pulling really tightly, but these, just by the nature of there being a really soft, flexible material, don't do the job.
And that's why a lot of hospitals right now have surgical masks, because they're like, okay, well, there's leakage on the side, and this, we don't want to risk any COVID-19 particles to seep through. So this is readily available at least the hospitals in the US, but it's just unused. So.
Yeah.
So what's the fix? Fix the mask. What's the fix? It's a surgical mask brace. It's very simple. What we just said, there's a leakage. So all we're doing is just creating additional layer to really seal it. It creates a tight seal with a surgical mask brace. So it's really simple. We're not reinventing a mask. We're not doing it from scratch. We're literally just adding an extra layer to make it super, super tight so that no COVID-19 particles can actually seep through on the side. So I want to make this really interactive. And so I thought it would be great to show the 2 immediate free solutions that you can create at home. Again, we're trying to get this in the hands of people that need it the most, so we want to be immediate in our efforts. So the first thing, which started off as a prototype, is the rubber bands. So I don't know if you want to just start.
Yeah, and so we also have this video on our YouTube channel, so in case this is a little hard to see, but I'm going to show on the camera right now. All you need to make the version 1 prototype is 3 rubber bands. So what you do is you link your rubber bands together, pull through like this, and make your first link. Then you do the same thing with the other side. And what you're left with is a link of 3 rubber bands. And this is all you need for your brace. So as you put this on, all you have to do is basically place this over your nose and mouth. And then these side straps can either go behind your ears, or if that's uncomfortable, you can wrap it around behind your head, use a safety pin, a paper clip, whatever you like to really get this secure.
And the most important part is obviously the center piece. We've heard feedback that it may be uncomfortable around your ears, so there are alternative solutions like using a string or a headband and attaching it with the safety pin clip. So then the second solution I'm so excited about that we launched last week is the V2 version, where you can go to our website and download our open source solution.
Completely free.
Completely free, and we created a really quick video, hopefully, okay, of how to create this solution at home using rubber sheet and scissors. And it'll be quick, don't worry.
So this is just showing how easy it is to apply the version 2 brace. with some quick adjustments, you have a really tight seal. These are the materials that you'll need. The first step is just to cut out our free printout from our website. Once it's cut out, then you trace it onto a rubber sheet. And then after that, you just cut it out and then you have your brace.
Super easy.
Ta-da!
Download the design. Okay. So what's the benefit with V2? Well, you'll notice that it's one piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's comfortable. It's reusable, cleanable. Am I missing anything else?
No, those are the main ones.
Yeah. So second version just launched. You can get it for free at www.fixamask.com/download. So when we think about our mission, we're thinking about how can we supply safe masks for everyone quickly. And so we think about these three buckets that will require us to get us there. And so I touched on this a little bit already, but it's immediate, right? Anybody can do this at home. Our design is free. If you realize that your hospital or even at home, you don't have an N95 mask, you can create this at home and it'll create a tight seal and it'll make you much more protected. So that's an immediate solution. And I just wanted to show you, since we've launched, we've had doctors sending in how they're using our surgical mask brace. I love the image on the bottom left corner. We just launched last week and she's already creating the V2 design. But these are doctors in action who found out about Fix a Mask and started creating the surgical mask brace.
Yeah.
The second thing.
Yeah, the second criteria that's really important is that this solution be tested. And we need to make sure that before we go off advocating for a solution, that there's data behind it showing that this is a good one. So the true criteria that are important for an N95 mask are filtration and fit. Let's break those down a little bit further. So filtration means that the material that these masks are made of can actually block out COVID-19 sized particles. And as we mentioned, they're very small. At the bottom of the screen, they're hypothesized right now to be as small as 0.1 microns. So having some material that actually is able to filter that out is extremely important. So N95 masks achieve this by having a really interesting plastic matrix. So these are very, very thin fibers stacked on top of each other. And that matrix creates a really intense obstacle course for particles to get through. What's really interesting is that surgical masks use the same material stack up. There is still, the material is called melt blown fabric. It's in an SMS stack up. So but basically it's, as we mentioned before, these guys start out looking like this, and then there's a lot of extra processes. So our goal here is to utilize this material and make it effective. So that's how we're dealing with filtration.
Same material, different shape.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Now fit is the other aspect of this. So as we touched on at the very beginning, surgical masks are not good on their own because leak paths through the face. So what we're doing is adding our brace on top. Now, how good is our fit? So the way that fit is tested in hospitals in America, there's two ways. One of them is a quantitative method using a system called a PortaCount Pro. We've partnered with University of Iowa and University of Pennsylvania to help us get data on this. And so just as a very high overview, this system outputs a fit factor that goes from a scale of 0 to 200. And anything over a 100 is passing. And what we've asked University of Iowa and University of Pennsylvania to do is to test our rubber band solution with this system. And we have data now on around 20 participants, and all of them have passed with a score of over 100. And even one person that's never been able to pass with an N95 of any size before was able to pass with our rubber band solution. So our fit data is extremely compelling, and you can see here on the bottom left, this is our first fit test done by a physician. His score is 176, which is an extremely, extremely good score.
With the rubber band.
With the rubber bands. And then in parallel, as I was developing this solution, this center shape is something that I spent a lot of time iterating on. And after dozens of iterations, I came up with something that actually passes on a fit factor of 200 on my face. We've also tested this on our team members. So again, our sample size is not as big with this data set, but we're hoping that by releasing it open source on our website, people will be able to download it and give us more data around how good it fits on their face.
So Scalable, I think we've talked about this quite a
Mhm.
bit now, but just to again reiterate why this is a really big deal in terms of how it supports our mission. It's 300 times faster to produce to manufacture surgical masks than N95 masks. Again, we showed the visual, but this is much easier to create. This one's more complicated. So what I'm hoping for here is that with the focused effort of surgical mask and surgical mask brace, we can really support driving our mission.
And so what about the surgical mask brace? Because it's two-dimensional and extremely easy to cut out, we've talked with mask manufacturers in America, and the initial quotes show that we can make at least 1 million of these per week with just a single vendor. And what that means globally is that if we start spinning up the world manufacturers to make this, we can make this relatively instantaneously. It's a really, really powerful design because it's so easy to make. So as we mentioned, all we're doing is combining this, which is very fast to make, this, which is very fast to make, and having this as a substitute for these, which are both take a long time to make and are expensive. So let's touch on price really quick. From a price standpoint, in America, these guys are running for $7 US per piece, which is completely out of range for many, many people out there, including the general public in most countries. What we're identifying is that surgical masks, though, still aren't that expensive. They're on the order of 24 cents a piece. And our braces, from initial estimates, are on the order of 70 cents per piece. And as we've been identifying, this brace is completely reusable. And so that means that the cost of this solution is going to be much, much less than waiting on these guys.
Yep. Cool. So why are we all here today? And I think I touched about this a little bit in the beginning, but we have to be honest. We know that this is the North Star. We know that surgical mask filters 95% particles or above. We know that the surgical mask brace is accessible. You can create it at home. That really is our North Star. But how we drive adoption and distribution will be a challenge. We don't have the answer to everything. We started this nonprofit organization about a month ago, and the challenges seem to be endless, even from the city to a country to our country. Like every challenge is so different, and we really want our community to innovate and problem solve together. This whole initiative, the reason why we're able to scale the way we are today is because we had a community of innovators. People have raised their hand and helped us in every part of the organization, and we really want to foster that for our community, because ultimately we want everyone to have safe masks, but we have to come together and problem solve, because I know that this is the correct solution. It's just me and Sabrina will not have the answer to everything. Mm-hmm. But you guys know your country very, very well, and so you can help us figure out how to actually drive adoption and distribution in your country. Mm-hmm. So this is why it's called a Global Challenge Summit. We know the challenges are going to be very different, and I'm hoping that we can problem solve together. So how can we get this in the hands of people that need it the most? And so here are the challenges that I'm anticipating. Again, the challenges will be very different. But here are things at a high level that I think we may potentially have a roadblock with. So your country may be not able to have access to rubber bands or rubber sheets. You may not able to be accessing ASTM level surgical masks. And ASTM means that it's a certification in the States that guarantees 95% particle filtration or above. And also distribution. We don't know how distribution works in your country potentially. At least we've had a challenge here in the States. Mm-hmm. And so we really want to figure out how to partner with you to provide safe masks in the hands of the people that need it the most. Mm-hmm. So, did I miss anything? No? Great. Okay. I want to talk about why spreading the word is really, really important, especially if you're out of N95 masks. We're in a digital first world now, and so it's really interesting to watch the data in terms of the latest COVID-19 outbreaks. And so I thought this was interesting to share about the latest COVID-19 outbreaks outside of the States. So here are the most affected countries at a top level. So in Asia, India, Pakistan, Indonesia, Philippines, Bangladesh, in Africa, Egypt, South Africa, Morocco, and Algeria. And so these are the latest outbreaks as of April 29th. And so I wanted to tap into our analytics to see where we're growing. And it's really interesting because we saw that there was a growth the second day that we launched in the Philippines. And we're wondering why. And we were looking into the news and we noticed that there was a COVID-19 outbreak and that people did not have access to N95 masks. And so they're looking for the next best alternative if they don't have access to N95 masks. So sharing this solution is really powerful, and it's really at a minimum if like, you know, you want to figure out how to help sharing the solution and seeing where these outbreaks are happening, you can share this solution to figure out, you know, if they have rubber bands or rubber sheet and how they can create it to make their surgical mask much more effective. Because there's a good chance they'll probably have surgical mask, or I don't know.
Yeah, we have to figure that out.
We have to figure that out. But so yeah, sharing the solution for the next best alternative is super, super important. So as a community, as leaders in your country, what are our goals as a community? So the first thing is spreading the word, like I said, share this solution to anyone you know. It's really, really important because it's such an accessible solution, and I think it could really impact a life. The second thing is driving adoption of surgical mask brace. Again, it's accessible. I think people need to know that there should be an extra layer of protection if there's any leakage on the side. So really driving that adoption of the brace. And the third thing, I do foresee this to be a challenge, but again, supply and demand. If we increase the demand of ASAM surgical masks, where it guarantees 95% particle filtration or above, that everyone will have access to safe masks. And so that really is our community goals and why we're here in the first place. And so I wanted to make that statement about what our goals are as a community. I'm a big fan of Slack. Slack is a platform where we've been using since we started about 6 weeks ago, but it's a collaboration tool where we can message each other in real time. And so if you have access to Slack, I think would be amazing, because this is how we communicate and collaborate in real time. I know we're intending to create more summits, but I know I don't want to wait for a summit to really hear from you. So me, Sabrina, and Dante, who's leading our medical community, we'll be on Slack so that we can all reach to each other in real time, talk about our challenges, how can we come together to really problem solve in real time. So if you have access to Slack, I created a channel called fixandmask-community.slack.com.
And just for reference, this is a free platform that you can just download from the internet. The benefit of this over email is that it's basically a giant messaging platform, so just a lot faster. And everyone can sort of see the messages in real time, which is fantastic. So.
Yeah, but we'll also put our emails here.
Yes.
So you know you don't have access. Cool, so I think we breezed through that. Yeah, so I just want to close with this summit, that one, we're so thankful for everyone to take the time to come together and hear us out. We are really heavily relying on our community to really drive adoption of surgical masks and surgical mask brace. And we're so appreciative because, we won't be able to do this alone. And with your help, I think we can really achieve our mission together, because again, everybody deserves safe masks. There's no bureaucracy over this. We all deserve to be protected because this virus has killed thousands of people. And we just want to make sure that everybody is protected.
Yeah.
So let's wrap it up with questions, and hopefully we can answer.
Yeah, totally. So if you go into the chat window on the Zoom platform, you can add questions, and Dante is going to be helping us field them.
Here we go. So we see the questions here. Cool. I'd love to see everyone, but I guess I can't. We can hear.
Perfect. Okay, great. Let's see. Oh, my face is really big.
Okay, so there's a question here. How can I access data on the survey research on the use of DIY surgical masks?
Yes, so we are partnering with University of Iowa and University of Pennsylvania. The testing has been done on 16 plus spaces, 20 plus spaces rather. And we have been asked to not publicly share that yet, but we will imminently. They're trying to publish papers right now to figure out, sorry, got distracted on the messaging. So they're publishing papers, and they're publishing the data in a journal. And if we publish the data too soon in text format, then it risks the journal not being able to be published. But that said, we will share as much as we can with you right now, and we'll put all the information on the Slack channel.
Hi, Ali from Senegal. Linda said surgical masks being disposable might not be sustainable for some of our communities.
Yeah, so we wanted to address this as well. So there's a big component of reusability versus safety. And at this point, there's a lot of research being done on the reuse of N95 masks that is not researched enough yet for, I think, us to have confidence in like the reusability of it. I know that in America, they recently approved giant hydrogen peroxide vapor decontaminations. But from the hospitals that I talked to, there's a couple problems. For one, it makes the masks smell really bad and almost unusable. Two, the data on that was from 2016. There were a couple of issues with the study to qualify it. So I think that like as a global community right now, reuse is something that we're very interested in figuring out moving forward. But at this point, we can't recommend reusing surgical masks, though we are very aware of all the research going on in the space. And we're going to try our best moving forward to help incorporate those learnings and share them with you guys as we find them out.
I love this question. What are the chances of making cloth masks efficient?
Yeah, the cloth can be dangerous. And the thing here is that COVID-19 sized particles are extremely small. So research suggests that the hardest particle size to capture is on the order of 0.3 microns. If you stacked 250 0.3 micron particles next to each other, that would be the diameter of a single human hair. So these particles are extremely small and not able to be seen by the naked eye. The problem is that with cloth, if you hold it up to a light, you can see, you can see holes like visibly through these fabrics. And if you can see holes visibly, that means that they cannot filter out COVID-19 sized particles effectively. Now, you can definitely stack up different layers of this material to make it more effective. You can try to stack up cloth, but from the research that we've seen so far, multiple layers of cotton, for example, filter out only 50% of particles. It's not anywhere near surgical masks, which are up to 95%. So if there are no surgical masks available, in theory, like as everyone says, cotton or something can be better than nothing, but it's not good enough to actually protect you from getting the virus.
Mm-hmm. So I have a couple more questions here. Are there any known suppliers for transparent rubber sheets? This is from Divya.
I haven't looked into transparent rubber sheets. I would love to know the thought process behind transparent versus opaque. From our standpoint, the rubber, there's a bunch of different types of rubber out there. Neoprene, silicone, Una. Those rubbers don't necessarily affect the performance. The only thing that matters is how squishy they are, which is called the Shore rating. So we're aiming for between Shore 30 to Shore 80A, and we'll also have this detailed out in our Slack channel for further questions. But actually, I'm really interested in this transparent. Yeah, I haven't looked. We can definitely take a look into that.
Okay, next one. So from Otalia.
Mm-hmm.
When I cut out the rubber band brace directly from the PDF reader, does it exactly fit the one for use?
Yeah, so it does exactly. So this is one that I made from the printout online. Basically, all you do is trace it and cut it out to the best of your ability. It's relatively forgiving in terms of if you like make a cut too deep or something, it's not going to affect the function very much. One thing to be cognizant of though is make sure that there aren't any nicks. For example, if you like cut in and you stretch, I'm sure you've done this with a rubber band before. If there's any like giant stress concentrations inside of the material and you pull it, it'll rip, right? So as long as you're very careful to make sure that it's a very smooth edge, there should be no problems.
Yep. Okay, so do you have a supply chain in any African country?
So at this moment, we do not, and we are working very hard to get one. And so we actually would love to brainstorm with you guys in terms of how to get it to different countries effectively. And we have identified 2 ways just off the bat. One is that we can produce a bunch of these in America and try to ship them over to different countries. The other way, though, is to bring up local manufacturers in those countries to make these. And we think that that way is probably going to be a lot faster if they have the right material. So we're hoping to sort of brainstorm together about what exactly we can do to get that moving forward in your specific countries.
Again, please let us know what your challenges are, because we anticipate it's different. So that's really
an excellent question, and something that we'd love to talk more about.
Yeah. And I don't know if we emphasize this enough, but ultimately we want the solution to be free for everyone.
Yep.
So we're not profiting out of this. We're doing this full time to ensure that people get, access to safe masks.
And to reiterate, in terms of how we're doing this for free and how we'll be giving it to people for free. So our plan right now is that we're raising grant money from American grants, and we're going to be donating that entirely into manufacturing and distribution. So if there is a cost aspect to this, like of course, Fix the Mask as an organization is helping out. And we will definitely be open to talking about that.
Yeah, so it will always be free. It's just how we get there. It's going to be a bit of a challenge, but ultimately it will always be free.
To the end user.
To the end user. Do you think this system can be easily adopted in Burundi as we approach elections, and how, if they're a way we feel free to help? We are very concerned.
Yeah, we would love to get this in the hands of people as fast as possible. And so in Burundi specifically, absolutely want to help. What we need to prioritize though is figuring out exactly how to get these distributed. So funding we can figure out on our side, but we need your guys' help to figure out how to bring up local manufacturers or bring up places that to get this material and to start cutting it for people's faces would be fantastic.
From Linda, how do we proceed with distribution in East Africa?
Yeah, so another aspect, aside from bringing up local manufacturers, we could do the make in the US, distribute. We recently heard about partnering with the WHO potentially. So that's a path that we're going to be trying to move down moving forward. Apparently they have giant distribution channels already really spread out throughout all of Africa and different parts of the world. So that's one path that we can take. But what we'll need to know from your standpoints are where we should be targeting first, and which areas need the most help fastest.
Yeah, and Anna said distribution would be a problem given the travel bans. Partnering with who is probably the best solution.
Okay, that's really good feedback, and we'll pursue that as well.
Yeah, again, this collaboration is super important because we don't have that insight.
Totally.
I think one thing I'm hoping you guys can come to us with also is that I was talking about how sharing is really powerful, but again, I think I touched about it a little bit, but some people may not actually have access to the internet. So I'm hoping that we can get really creative how to get this solution, and spread the word, given if there's no digital channels available. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all the questions I'm seeing so far. If there isn't, there are a lot of leftover scraps after cutting stencil. Maybe we can brainstorm an alternative manufacturing approach to minimize this.
Amazing, Anna. Yes, we would love to find outlets to help spread the solution. So, yeah.
And there's a lot, Divya said there's a lot of leftover scrap after cutting the stencil. Maybe we can brainstorm an alternative manufacturing approach to minimize this.
Very good points. So 2 things. One, Vena rubber is in theory recyclable. So we're hoping that we can collect all of our scraps and reuse them back into the raw materials. So that's one aspect. The second thing is that there's a different process called injection molding that is a lot less wasteful. The reason why we didn't start with that originally is because it takes longer to bring up. So injection molding, basically, if you imagine a big toothpaste tube squeezing into a mold, it basically squeezes out the exact right amount of material to make this brace. The tooling, making those machines, takes on the order of 2 to 3 weeks. Whereas for die cutting, they can do it pretty much 1 to 2 days. And so that's why we started out with this manufacturing process that has a little bit more waste. Moving forward, we're definitely going to be making one that has a lot less waste. But in terms of, right now we're trying to balance immediacy versus waste streams. And I think right now immediacy is more important. So that's why we're recommending this solution.
And there's a request about documenting, explaining everything in videos.
Yeah.
We will send the deck after, and the videos will be there to download. But we can add additional documentation also.
Yeah, and all of these questions are fantastic. I will also type up my answers to them in a little bit more of an eloquent way than I am verbalizing.
Thanks,
Amazing.
Linda. This is awesome. So I don't know if I put it in, but if you guys want to email us, we also have Slack, but Megan@fixamass.com, Sabrina@fixamass.com.
Yeah.
I think this is pretty much all of our, thanks, Dante. This is all of our questions so far. Thank you again. We're getting really distracted, and this is
fantastic.
It'll be better the second time around, but thank
Yeah.
you for bearing with us. Thank you again for taking the time to meet with us this morning. I'm super excited, and I know that we've gathered, the best people together to really figure out how to drive our mission. So thank you again. And yeah, we'll send this out to everybody who.
And we want to continue this conversation on our Slack channel. So please feel free to continue reaching out to us, and we'll make it a community effort. So
yeah.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Happy first summit. Bye.
Yay. Bye, guys.